So, I guess it's been about 5 years since I've developed an interest in real estate. I was just graduating college and I went to school for like finance, like corporate finance. I was working at a venture capital firm out in Silicon Valley. And so one might say I was living the dream, making over six figures. I was like 22 years old. A lot of people would say I was quite successful, but I was like really, really unhappy because of all the time and effort and energy I was putting into that job. And I just like have gotten no fulfillment from it. And I just saw that like, sure, I was making, maybe 100 grand or so a year, but my boss was making like 1 million a year and his boss was making like 10 million a year. And I was like, man, so I'm working my butt off like 40, I mean, 80, 100-hour weeks so that my boss can make 10 times more than me and his boss can make 10 times more than him. There just seemed to be like a disconnect there. And I realized that I needed to be the boss versus the employee. And so I realized I kind of like had this like come to moment when I was like, what do I truly, truly love to do? And it really came down to I love to travel. I love to hang out with my friends. I love to do all these things that literally don't make any money. And so that's when I kind of discovered the idea of passive income. I read Tim Ferriss's book, The 4 Hour Work Week, and in that book, he just talks about thinking about your income on a monthly basis versus an annual basis, and your expenses on a monthly basis and an annual basis. And if you can get passive income to exceed your expenses, then you've hit financial independence. And so in Tim's book, he talks a lot about starting businesses. I was in Silicon Valley, so I was thinking of like stupid business after stupid business after stupid business to start. Nothing obviously came to fruition. And that's when I kind of landed on real estate. And I was like, man, I don't need to be the next Mark Zuckerberg or Steve Jobs or anything like that. Like, I don't need that fame. I just want the passive income and I want to live a nice, wealthy, healthy, fruitful life. And so then went down the rabbit hole of real estate, found bigger pockets. And I mean, pretty much, that was the beginning of the end.
Well, what job did you work on Silicon Valley?
So I was working at a company called Hercules Capital. It's actually a venture debt company. So in real estate terms, we would basically give hard money loans to startup companies that were losing money, hand over fist, month over month, and we would like bridge them from one loan, from one capital raise to the next capital raise. And so we'd be doing the underwriting and stuff for that.
Oh, okay, that's pretty cool. Um, so I guess like kind of how you got started, like you talked about your track with the financial freedom. Like how did you go about achieving, I guess, your dream?
Yeah, and so once I discovered bigger pockets, I pretty much took the next few months while I was in California, just like learning, listened to every podcast, read every book, watched every webinar, took like vigorous notes on the webinars, um, and basically after about 4 or 5 months of doing that, I felt like I was ready to just pick up and move, and so. I went and I looked for jobs in real estate outside of California. I was looking in Florida. I actually applied to 250 jobs in one weekend. That's how bad I wanted to get out. And 249 of those were in Florida. One was in Denver, and the one in Denver was at Bigger Pockets. And so I felt like the stars aligned because the Bigger Pockets was literally hiring for the something that I was exactly qualified for. And so I applied, somehow slipped through the cracks, and got the position at Bigger Pockets. And within a month or so, I moved to Denver. And then within 2 months of moving to Denver, I had purchased my first house hack.
Okay. So is that what inspired you to, I guess, write your book, which is I was telling her about, is the house hacking strategy.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess that house hacking has brought me to financial independence. I did three house hacks over the course of, I guess, 2 years, a little over 2 years, and the passive income from that, it was about $3,000 a month, allowed me to hit that base level of financial independence. Right, no one's getting rich and no one's living a wealthy, fruitful lifestyle on $3,000 a month, but it allowed me to take the risk of being able to quit my job. I can live off that and take a larger risk where, when you're at a W-2 job, the most you can make is what, maybe $150,000 a year. If you're the CEO, it's $200,000 a year, which is great money in a lot of people's eyes. But you guys know, as a real estate agent, you can make that in a couple months, right? And so it's kind of, and especially as a business owner, you just have an infinite cap of how much you can make. And I was kind of ready to take take that big step, especially after hitting that financial independence mark.
Well, in your terms, define house hacking, just in case someone out there listening doesn't understand what that is.
For sure, yeah. So house hacking is the idea that you buy a 1 to 4 unit property with a low percent down, typically 3 to 5% down. Because you're doing a low down payment loan, you're required to live there for 1 year. So while you're living there, you rent out the other rooms or you rent out the other units in the case if you buy a 2, 3, or 4 unit, and then your rent from the rooms or the other units covers your mortgage and you live for free. And I would bet that most of the listeners here, their largest expense is going to be their housing expense. So by eliminating that expense, you're able to save $1,000, $2,000 more a month than you would otherwise, and then you can start saving that to buy other investments, and you can grow your portfolio much quicker that way.
And did you fix these properties up that year that you lived there?
I did not. And I actually think a lot of real estate investors you hear on investor podcasts that, oh, you should fix the place up to get sweat equity. House hacking that works against you. You really, I think getting turnkey properties is the most efficient way to house hack because ideally, like the only thing constraining you from getting your next house hack is that 1 year that you need to wait. And so if you've got to do a rehab, you're spending more money, which is eating into your down payment for your next one. You're not renting your place out, which is also eating into that down payment. And you've just got, more time spent in the property, all to just build equity, which you can't even touch, right? Unless you pull a HELOC out. But oftentimes you can't pull a HELOC out because no one with a HELOC is willing to get, 95% LTV. So I think I've done it both ways. I've done it, where I try to find a rehab and try not, and I've seen it both ways. And everyone that I talk to that has done a rehab wishes they had not done a rehab when they house hacked.
Right. So I guess your criteria was what? Finding a home that, number one, 2 bathrooms, and 3 or 4 bedrooms. Probably is that what you were looking for? Somewhere that you could rent or have roommates and be okay.
Yeah, so I'd say like my like down the middle fastball type deal is a 5 bedroom, 3 bathroom house where you've got a master bath, you've got a bathroom upstairs, and you got a bathroom downstairs. So there's typically 2 people to each bathroom, and then the master gets the private one. That's kind of like the best, right? But you could do a 5-2, works just fine, where there's 3 people to one bathroom, 2 people to the other. A 4-2 works just fine, but really you want the most possible bedrooms and the most possible bathrooms per dollar spent.
Great tip.
Actually, that was actually what you just said was actually what I did. Like I bought a house, I fixed it up, and then like I moved again. I feel like that was my biggest issue because I just wasted all that capital, and then I didn't even get to write off that capital to try to buy the next one because that was like what killed us. Is like, dang, we had to save for the next one, but I just put all this equity in the house. But I can't touch it unless I get enough to where I can put like a HELOC on it and then start buying houses in cash. That was one of the
Yeah,
big issues that me and my wife came across.
100%. I think you have to like, you listen to Bigger Pockets and you listen to all these real estate podcasts and you have to like put it all into context, right? Like there's might be one guy talking about how he makes tons of money and tons of sweat equity and he can refinance and pull his money out, but I guarantee you he's not house hacking. He's just a real estate investor. And then yeah, I mean if you're gonna do buy and holds in Burr, then yeah, you need to do rehabs. But for house hacking, I think rehabs work against you for sure.
So what about this market? I know Denver is exploding. I have family up there. So would house hacking work now? Where it's a
Yeah,
little
it's
bit of
still
a
it's
question?
still it works pretty much anywhere. It definitely worked better a few years ago than it does now. Like cash flow is better, but you can still find places where you can live for free. You're pretty darn close to free. What I'm finding now is people are having the most success with Airbnb, and so if they Airbnb kind of like the bottom unit of like the Airbnb the basement of their house, they're pretty much covering their mortgage. If you're willing to live in the basement and Airbnb the upstairs, you'll actually cash flow even a little bit. And that's kind of how it works in Denver. But rent by the room also works and you'll still cash flow. It's just not maybe not 15, 17, $1,900 a month that we were seeing a few years ago, but it's still 7, 8, $900 a month, which is still pretty darn good. And then I know in the more expensive markets, the Californias of the world, you may actually even be paying a little bit still while you're living there, but you're likely at least reduce your rent expense. And then when you move out, you'll have a small cash flow, but a massive appreciating property. So,
Because I'm not sure about Denver, but over here, like he was a property manager also, and she said that actually the rent, like everyone, the competition for rents are actually way worse than the housing, buying houses. So
Oh, really? This is the first time I'm hearing that. So you
she's
think,
got
Yeah, there's no place to rent. People are going crazy and they're bidding rents up.
yeah
oh, that's awesome. Well, I guess I should watch who I say to, but yeah, as a landlord, that's awesome.
yeah
I figured it's only a matter of time before rents start increasing, and because I mean it has to, right? Properties have increased like shoot, like almost 50% in the past few years. So
yeah that's true that's true. I guess so. What was your favorite part of guess what more or less what you do now? Like, cause are you still because you quit your W-2 job? And I think you're a realtor now also. So is that what you saw yourself doing? Is that your are you living your I guess your dream?
I guess I've always tried to live in the dream, try to like live in the present and enjoy the journey, right?
Makes
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm very grateful. Last year I kind of ran myself ragged and I was kind of a one man show, just running around, writing contracts, just, constantly on the phone, constantly doing the showings, constantly whatever. This year or towards the end of last year and this year, I really created a team. So now we've got 14 agents on our team. Uh, they're the ones kind of like, they're the boots on the ground doing all the work, getting things done. They're super happy. They love it. They're all house hackers. They're all investors. They love helping other people achieve financial independence through real estate investing. And I'm just helping. I support all the agents. I'm happy to talk to any client that they want to. I'm more of the consultant resource for everybody. And I'm having a lot of
yeah.
fun doing that and a lot of fun, coming on shows like this and just talking real estate and talking shop.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so you wrote a book. That's exciting. So what was that nervous? What made you decide to write the book?
I've always wanted to write a book, and the opportunity presented itself, and it was an obvious choice to say yes. It's not. I guess I don't think I was that scared. Like I wasn't scared to write it. I knew that there was a need that someone had to write a book on house hacking. At the time, there was no book on house hacking out there, and it's such a valuable niche to capture. And so when Bigger Pockets asked me to write the book for them, it was a no brainer. And especially because I was writing for their blog, and writing was already a part of my regular routine. Just now, every morning, instead of writing a little bit of a blog post, I would write a little bit of the book, and then over the course of a few months, the book gets complete. So
Oh wow. So when you write a book like that, did you have to go out and push it to the publishers, or how does that process go?
So Bigger Pockets published it. So they kind of came to me and asked me to publish the book, and I obviously said yes. At the time, I was on my, I was doing my third house hack. There were other bidders to write the book. I actually know. So actually, I mean, if you want the real story, Brandon Turner, who many people know, was originally going to write the book, but he was too busy building his mobile home business. Scott Trench was second in line, but he was too busy building bigger pockets. And both of them were kind of out of the house hacking game for a few years. I had the most kind of like recent knowledge of house hacking. So then I was the third choice. And I went ahead and accepted the opportunity with, yeah, just, very gladly. Obviously, I was lucky that they were too busy. And here we are.
Yeah, well, right time, right place.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
That's awesome.
I love house hacking just because I feel like for new investors just starting out, or even like even myself, it was the best opportunity to like maximize what you can do because it's really hard to get in real estate 'cause it's so expensive. And I'm glad you actually wrote that book because it really shows people like where you should start at and almost where to go. And I feel like house hacking is probably the best way to do that.
I think house hacking is the best way to start out in real estate. I mean, I would say 90% of real estate investors start as a house hack. Like, I mean, almost all of the most successful ones that I know, like Brandon, Scott, Jay. I don't know if Jay Scott did actually, but like all of the bigger pockets guys, David Green, like those guys all started off house hacking because it's just the easiest way to get in, easiest way to get your feet wet, and it's just such a low risk because you have to live somewhere anyway. Your worst case scenario is you're just paying your mortgage, and in which case, like, I mean, you just kind of like if you look at your mortgage payment, like in a 5 bedroom house, for example, and let's say your mortgage is $2,000. You've got 4 bedrooms. You got to rent out each room for $500. I don't know about where you guys are, but in Denver, that's like incredibly easy. The average rent for a room is probably about 700, 750. And so to break even, you have to like breaking even would suck, right? You'd be like losing if you were breaking even. And so that's kind of why it was just a no brainer.
And I like the fact that you can buy for house hacking. You can technically buy 3 houses that would cost to do one if you didn't live there. So you can buy a first house 3% down, then it's 5% down. And but if you weren't going to live there, it's like 15 to I think now it's like actually 25% down. So that's like 3 houses to maximize your money than not living there and putting all that in one. So.
For sure. Exactly right.
So what's one of the biggest lessons you learned? Not really mistakes. We all learn from our mistakes. So what is a lesson that you learned?
Yeah, the biggest lesson I learned, or at least how I got burned the most, was that just when you're doing your tenant screening, you really have to stick to your criteria. And I heard this a million times before I didn't do it. Sometimes you just have to like touch the fire to make sure that it's hot. And yeah, I would say learn from other people's mistakes, and please just stick to your criteria. If your minimum credit score is 600 and someone has a 599, don't do it. Right? Like treat your business like a bank would treat their business or whatever. Treat it like a business. Because yeah, I got burned and had some pretty crappy tenants, and luckily I was able to get them out pretty quickly. But certainly was not without stress.
Right.
Well, I'm not sure if you tell us what's the craziest story that you've had in real estate so far. I mean, we all have crazy stories, but I'm kind of curious. Like, if you had to come down, like, wow, this was crazy. What happened?
Yeah, so I guess it's a continuation of that story about who I let into my house. So I was living in this like upstairs, downstairs. It was a single family house technically, but it was basically a duplex with a kitchen and stuff in the downstairs. And I was renovating the downstairs, and I got greedy, I got cocky, I got I don't know, complacent, and I basically said, "Hey, I'll rent these rooms out down here for like $400 or $500 a month, super cheap. They're going to be living in a construction zone, kind of in the common areas, but hey, that's why it's cheap, and it's just month to month. What's the worst that can happen?" Well, so I basically just let these people in without screening them because, again, it was month to month, and what's the worst that could happen? Well, my contractor was down there doing work, and he said he smelled something that like he had never smelled before. And marijuana is legal in Denver, so that's a pretty common smell. Cigarettes, obviously, you smell all the time, and so it wasn't marijuana or cigarettes. So clearly, it was something illegal. And he was like, "Yeah, man, I don't know what it was, but it just smelled horrendous." And so I went and I Googled my tenants, and it turns out they were on Larimer County's most wanted list for like drug possession and all this stuff. So here I am, like literally renting to felons, and they were nice people. Like they were nice. Like they literally never did anything wrong to me. They never harmed me. But I just always get scared when people are on drugs, that they're very unpredictable and I don't know what to do. And so I suspect basically they were doing meth in the basement. I called the cops. The cops basically couldn't help me for some weird law or reason that I guess you can smoke meth if it's in someone's house that they leased to. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a police officer, but I was like, what the hell? So they weren't helping me. So basically, I was like, okay, you guys need to get out in the next week. If you get out, I will give you your rent back that you paid me. I'll give you your entire security deposit, and I'll give you $500 on top of that. And it was 2 people. So basically, it was like a little over $1,000 mistake. And sure enough, they left. They left very quickly, and I had never heard from them again. And so I was fortunate that that was my situation. It could have been much worse than $1,000. But yeah, it was stressful for like a week there. I was, I like slept in my bedroom with like the door lock and a chair propped up under the handle with like a knife and a baseball bat next to my bed, like just in case. And yeah, it was freaky.
I could imagine your face when you saw that wanted poster.
Yeah, I was like, "Are you kidding me, man?" Like, yeah.
Oh,
So would that be your best piece of advice? If just someone starting out, what would you tell them?
I guess for someone starting right now, other than just the like, obviously, just make sure you do your homework and do your diligence, and don't miss your like, don't screw up your your screening. Will be just like get started because, and I know that's like super cliche, but it's just like so true. Like it doesn't even matter that you get the best deal. The difference between like when you're house hacking, the IRRs are like 120% or 124%. It's like it doesn't matter. Just like get in one because 1 month is a long time to not be in a house because especially in these last 6 months. Like I'm sure the whole U.S. real estate market has exploded, and that's like another month of you paying rent, another month of you not collecting rent. It just goes a long way. And then not to mention that year ticker doesn't start until you close, right? And
Yeah.
so like that 1 month kind of compounds over time, because now it's a year and 1 month to get your second one, and it becomes a lot longer. So I would just say, just get into one that works. You don't need to fall in love with it. Just get started.
When you were, I guess, originally first starting, did you have that same thought, like, oh, I'm gonna quit, right? Or it was like one day, like, oh, I'm quitting today, or was it like, oh, I'm gonna quit tomorrow, but then you kept pushing back, or anything like that, or was it just like, I'm gonna do it today, forget it.
Like when I quit my job.
Yeah, because you were just talking about, you were saying that like kind of the fear aspect is what kind of holds a lot of us back, including myself.
Yeah, I would say so. What I did with my job was I felt as though I was financially independent,
Hmm.
but I kind of wanted to see it for myself. And so what I did was that just for like the next 3 months, I maxed out my 401k and basically took a $0 paycheck. And so I took a $0 paycheck, and I figured, hey, if my checking account is larger in 3 months than it is now, then I'm financially independent and I'm good to go. And so sure enough, it was. And so then I felt comfortable leaving. And I figured, the worst case scenario is that it's like, because I was so close, I was like, the worst case scenario is that I'm a little bit less, but I just maxed out my 401k. So it's not like a horrible downside. And that was kind of like my test to see if I was financially independent or not.
Okay. So
That's a
what?
good test.
Yeah, man, yeah, definitely. I should try that. But so I guess getting started, is it hard for you now that because you house hacked for so long to not house hack and buy houses that you aren't getting 130% return? Because that's my biggest issue like right now. It's like, dang, I really should go like because I can't house hack at this moment because I just had a daughter and all that stuff. I can't move right now. It's like, dang, I really should house hack. But
Yeah, well, congratulations on just having a daughter. It's definitely hard, man. Me and my girlfriend are pretty serious, and so we're still house hacking, and I'm looking for my next one as well. And I think this will be my last one, and it is really hard because we're also looking for a house maybe up in the mountains, and we're like, wow, so we're gonna like not house hack, and both of us are just like, it really hurts us to pay our mortgage. Like it just really hurts us because we
yeah,
haven't done it in so long. Um, which is a crazy thing to say, but yeah, so it's hard. It's hard, man. And then it's even hard too because the returns on house hacking are so great that doing some more investing that's just traditional, where the returns are 10, 15%, and it's like, man, I'm only getting 10 or 15%. Like it's just paltry compared to a house hack. But you got to realize that the first 30 or $50,000 a year that I'll invest is going to be towards a house hack because that's the highest return, and then
Mhm.
everything else kind of dips off, and that's just kind of the order of operations.
I got you.
That's a good thought. So if you could do it all over again, do anything different, would you change it a little bit?
Um, so hindsight is 2020, right? Like,
Right, right. So what's your
so
hobby? Right.
my hindsight says actually no, I wouldn't do anything. However, if I knew what I knew now back then, my first place that I got was a duplex. That was a one bed, one bath duplex. I had to like live behind a curtain to like make it work, and I did that. And I think that's a big part of my story, and why my story is at least entertaining. Um, but had I known now, I probably would have just gotten a single family home and rented out by the bedroom, because I didn't realize rent by the bedroom was a thing back then. And
Yeah.
so I think that is probably the easier and the wiser way to go, as well as you're able to have your own bedroom and probably make a little bit more money. But that duplex has appreciated, has almost doubled in value. So that's why I say hindsight's 2020. So like I'm not upset that I did that, but yeah. So, but
You
not no.
manage Did you manage all yourself, like coming up through house hacking? Did you just manage each property yourself, or did you get a property manager or anything like that?
After my third one, I got a property manager. Basically, once I became a full time real estate agent, I was just like way too busy to manage the properties. And so, yeah, I got a manager, and yeah,
The rest is history, I guess.
the rest is history. Yeah.
But I guess what would be your best, I guess, best piece of advice starting out? Like, if someone like other than like house hack or anything, or just getting started, what would be like if I was just starting out? what would be your best piece of advice for me?
Again, I just think I just come back to just get started. And really to help you get started, I would recommend just finding a good realtor and a good lender and a good team that knows investing and invests themselves, because they'll help you and guide you and push you and coach you through the deal, and it makes it a lot easier to do the deal when you're kind of being coached and led by someone who knows what they're doing. I did not really have that, but I will say that once I started getting like listings being sent to me from the agent, I was like, oh, this guy expects me to act, and if I don't act, like,
Yeah.
that's not good, right? And so
Yeah.
I just was like, it kind of was put some pressure on me to act, and I did, and I'm very happy that that's kind of the way it is. But I would just say, like, get other people involved in the process, and get around people that are doing the same thing that you're doing, because it seems a lot easier when you've got five buddies that are house hacking than when you're the only
That's
one.
true.
So
Yeah, because I mean, success is a team sport, and you kind of want to be around like-minded individuals too.
for sure, for sure. I mean, that was one big reason why I was like super happy to move to Denver. Nothing against my friends in San Francisco or back home, but it was nice to wipe the slate clean. And I was pretty intentional about, if you're not in real estate or not in pursuit of financial independence, like, I really don't care to hang out with you. And so, like, for the first 2 years, that's like the only people that I hung out with, and it really, like, my whole life was just like synergized around this thing, and it really did help.
Because at least you could all you can talk about real estate. Because I've talked to like one of the things my wife says all the time. She said, "Not everyone wants to talk about real estate." And I'm like, "Well, they probably should," you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you got to get around people that, I mean, once you get around people that love real estate, then it is like, can be a lot of what you talk about. But it is good and healthy to talk about other things too. So,
Yeah.
So
Sometimes I can't keep up with all the questions. It's like, well, do you know that little house on such and such street? I'm thinking like, oh,
yeah, like, which one is it? Yeah,
yeah.
totally get it.
so what's the FI team's future? Like, what's your goal going forward? Whatnot.
Yeah, so our mission is to help people achieve financial independence through real estate. We would like our like big hairy audacious goal is to reduce the U.S. retirement age from 65 to 55,
There you go.
and do that primarily through helping people house hack and, one, spread the word of house hacking, and then guiding and coaching them through the process. And so, we act as their agents. We guide them through the entire thing, and then we just stay in touch with them throughout the entire process, and we see them towards financial independence. We provide a community of investor-friendly agents and also other house hackers together, so you can find that friend group and that tribe of people looking for the same thing as you. And not to say you have to say goodbye to all your old friends, but your new friends will definitely propel you and get you to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to surround yourself by good people.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I guess to kind of like wrap everything up, where would people go like to find your book, or where is it published at if they wanted to look at or learn more about the house hacking strategy?
Yeah. So the one of the best places. So I guess there's two places to buy it. You can buy it on Amazon, which would be the cheapest option. There is some bonus content that I produce with Bigger Pockets, and if you want that as well, you go to biggerpockets.com/househack, and you'll be able to pick that up there. You can find me. I'm on Instagram at thefiguy. If you want to work with our team in the Denver area, or outside, we are thefiteam.com. And yeah, that's pretty much where you can get a hold of us.